Hiya folks, haven't made you guys a video in a while. Thought I'd make one for you. All you folks that followed me all the way back in 2006 when I first started doing YouTube, you know my channel was the most popular talking channel, of course. Well, I would get my account suspended all the time because I would criticize white supremacy. And I was relentless, and I wasn't real tactful about the shit. I would be like, this shit is bullshit. My original Toltec channel got canceled because they had a ritual going on over in like Switzerland or Norway, where they had an office party and they had a cake of a black person, and all the white people was eating the cake, laughing and shit, you know, blah blah blah, you know, like, you know, niggers, you know, whatever. And I just lost my mind on that one. And they just deleted my account. Oh God. But I've had like, I guess 3 YouTube first main, you know, and then this one, which I've had this one since 2012. So, but the one before that I had since, you know, 2008. Shit, you know what I mean? But anyway, this video is entitled All-Time Greatest. ATG, All-Time Greatest, that boy is. Now, what am I the all-time greatest at? Everything. What do I mean by that? That's what the fuck I said. Anything I ever done, I'm all-time greatest. For instance, let's go all the way back to elementary school. Start when I'm young. Let's go all the way back to when I was 2 years old. And I remember, and my mother remembers it, of course, when I was 2 and I could first talk real good and all that kind of stuff. I could talk good at 2. Anyway. I was reading books at 2. But anyway, I was kind of like the intellectual Felix Mendelssohn, you know. And I was reading books when I was 2 years old. I was reading complicated shit when I was 2 years old, you know. I told my mother when I could first talk, you know, maybe a few months after I could first talk, maybe 6 months or so after I could first talk, that I was the leader of the Golden Race, quote unquote. And my mother was like, what? I'm the leader of the Golden Race. And she would be like, okay. And my mother would, you know, when I was young, she would tell me, she's like, you're not like us. I'm like, what do you mean? She's like, wherever you're from. She said, you ain't from where we're from. She said, you aren't like the rest of us. For some reason, you were born into our family, but you ain't from where we are. I was like, damn. So, the first thing in elementary school, when I was in the 3rd grade, well, first of all, when I was in 2nd grade, I was such a scholar that my teacher, Miss Sanzoni, had me. I used to meet her at school in the morning. So school would open up, like, you know, elementary school, you know, 7:30, 8, I guess, whatever. I would meet her there at like 6 o'clock, 5:30, and I would grade all the papers in the 2nd grade, the 3rd grade, 4th grade, the 5th grade, and the 6th grade. She'd be like, she'd give me this, an essay from somebody, or she'd give me this, a spelling test from somebody, or whatever, and she'd be like, grade this. And I did. And I would, you know, and her and me was really, 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 really cool with each other. And she wound up committing suicide in between the 3rd and 4th grade year. I wasn't in her class no more, but her and me was like this. She was a white lady from a part of Cincinnati called Western Hills, which is WASPy and Catholic at the same time. White Anglo-Saxon Protestant, but mainly Catholic, white, conservative, and you know. But her and me was like really cool. Shit. She used to actually take me home sometimes for dinner. Shit. And they'd bring me all the way back across town to take me home. So anyway, she wound up committing suicide between my 3rd and 4th grade year. And the way they explained it to me, they knew how close her and me was. I had this principal named Mr. Hall, this principal named Mr. Wallenhoff. and Mr. Wallenhop was the principal, Mr. Hall was the vice principal. And they both got me and took me into the office. So they had something to talk to me about. It's like the first day of school. And they was like, Miss Sanzoni is, she died. And what happened was, she's at a bar, and she was playing this game called Russian Roulette. Do you know what that is? And I was like, yeah, I know what that is. And they said that she shot herself in the head. And I looked at her, and I was like, yeah, okay. And I knew she ain't playing no goddamn Russian Roulette. I knew she'd kill herself. So anyway, so I'm in the 3rd grade. In the 3rd grade, they wanted to put me up to the 6th grade. And I wouldn't let them do it. I said, nope. And then in the 4th grade, they wanted to put me up to the 6th grade. And I was like, nope. The reason why I did that was because all the way back then, the 2nd year, they had actually sent a letter to my mother. And they was like, he's too smart for this grade, shit, And my mother was like, well, why don't you want to do it? And I was like, well, I said, they look for people like me. She was like, what do you mean? I was like, there are people out there that their entire job is to find people like me so that eventually they can enslave me. Just use me. And I knew what it meant. I didn't know Illuminati back then, but I did know that was I just knew internally that was the case. And so she was like, all right, and I never really realized fully 100% the latitude of what I said until I started learning about the Illuminati, probably about 2000, and I saw that movie Hearts in Atlantis with Anthony Hopkins, and then I exactly knew that's what I was talking about. That's exactly how I would have wound up like Anthony Hopkins' character in Hearts in Atlantis. I might have been well off. They'd have paid me well. But I would have always been a slave to the Illuminati. So that's what they do. They find people like me, and then they co-opt them. They don't let them get away, and they use those people's talents for the rest of their lives to oppress everybody else. That's exactly true. And so, and then when I was in elementary school, we had 3 dudes in our school that the girls would chase around all the time. And we had this dude named Oscar, and this dude named Oscar, he looked just like Foster Silver. So you remember that group, the Silvers, and that song called Groove Line, and Boogie Fever. Boogie Fever, baby, I got the boogie down, yeah. So this guy Oscar, and then there was another guy named Rusty Coleman who wound up being the stage manager of the Cosby Show for years, and even dated Bernadette Stannis for years. Him and me, and we all had afros, and the girls would just chase us all over the goddamn elementary school, grounds, and then they would corner us and make us give them kisses and shit. I used to even have girls that would be like, I'm going to beat you up if you don't be my boyfriend. And I would be like, God damn. So you have to fake the shit, you know what I'm saying? Because the girl could beat you up if she wanted to, you know what I'm saying? When you're that age, when you're in 4th grade, 5th grade, the girls can beat you up. Some of them can beat you up and shit, I had Ruthie Jones' sister, Tanya, who was older. She was a year older. She was like, you my boyfriend. And she was fine as hell. I used to have to hide from her and shit to escape, you know what I'm saying? And she seen me talking to another girl. She would get mad at me, but then she'd go beat the other girl up. Shit. And that bitch could scrap. And Sandy Cisco, she died. She was the sweetest could be. A really pretty girl. She was fat, but she's like a Dale. Dale look good now, but Dale looks better fat. And but San Francisco was fat, but she was really pretty, and didn't nobody give a fuck that she was fat because she was beautiful and shit. She had you know, like honey colored skin, and wavy hair, and it was natural. And she had real pretty, you know, round features on her face. And she could smile. She had a big old butt, you know. And one day she called me downstairs, like close to the girl's bathroom after school, coming out, and she was like, "There wasn't nobody around," and shit. And she was like, "You gonna be my boy?" And I was like, "Huh?" And she was like, "'Cause if you don't, I'm gonna beat you up." And I was like, "God damn." So then she made me come in the bathroom with her and shit, and then she made me pull my pants down, and then she pulled hers down, and then she was like, "Grind on it." And I was like, and then she went, "Ooh, Henry, you tearing it up." And I was like, "What?" And so, you know, so I had like 2 forceful girlfriends and shit, and then all kind of shit like that just happened to me. And then in elementary school, we had this thing called Talent Day. From 3rd grade, I think, all the way up to 6th in music class. And I used to win that shit. I mean, like you wouldn't believe. I mean, it was like, you get some contest and you get like candy, or you get a gift certificate or something. Like, yeah, you get like a $5 gift certificate to our chili kitchen or to the barbecue place around the corner from the school. I used to win that shit every fucking week and shit. I mean, if we had what, 52, let's say we had 30 of them, I won 20 of them. I was like, you know, that's what everybody else in the class. We used to do this thing called John and Marshall with this guy named Ken Starks. I don't know if you ever seen them Muppets, John Marshall, but it would be like, these 2 people would catch each other's eyes. So Ken would be all the other side of the room, I'd be all the way over here on the other side of the room. And we'd just be like, oh, like we just standing around. And then all of a sudden, his eyes would catch my eyes. I'd catch his eyes all the way across the room. And then we'd just start looking at each other in slow motion, start walking towards each other, saying, "John, Marcia, John, Marcia." And we would get, and it would take, you know, we'd take the whole 3 minutes or 2 minutes that we got, and we would get up to each other close, that close, like we were going to kiss, and then we would stop. That's just one of the many skits. Anyway, and in elementary school too, also we had this thing, and we had in gym class, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. You get these stars for your gym participation activity, and cumulatively they go from 0 to 100. And ironically, I never won it ever. One year, Jason Starsville won it, and he was star wide receiver later on for University of Cincinnati. He went to Walnut Hills High School. One year, my best friend Steve Clark won it, and he was a really athletic dude. And then I think I did win it. I did win it one year. And so I got 2nd place though the other 2 years. So I won it, and I got 2nd place twice. And it would be stuff like kicking the ball, playing softball, playing wiffle ball, the gym, box hockey, tether ball, how far you could throw a football, and some other little stuff, you know, like that. Oh, I know, pole climbing, rope climbing, you know, dodgeball, you know, blah, blah, blah. And I would just win the shit, you know, every year. Shit. So I was all-time greatest in elementary school. And then, in my neighborhood, I grew up, from the time I was 7, I grew up in a completely straight middle class redneck neighborhood. And that was pretty racist and shit, you know. And there was some badass white boys in my neighborhood. And I was the only person that wasn't white that was allowed to hang out with them. Like if you was black and they saw you in the neighborhood, they was likely to chase you and beat you up. And I was the only person allowed to hang out with. Matter of fact, first time I ever smoked weed, smoked it with them. I mean, it's a funny story. I was so in good with the motherfuckers. It's a funny story. When I was about 15 or 16, we was hanging out one night in this house called Weirdo's house on the street called Wynwood. And a guy named Weirdo was named Dino Dively. And he looked just like that one dude in the Cosby. He was white, but he looked like that one dude in the Cosby show that had that hat over his face and shit. Because his hair was so long, so it would cover all the way down like to his mouth. His bangs would, so you could never see his eyes and shit. And he was real skinny and shit. He was a fucking pothead, and you know, just a stoner. You know, he wasn't a good student in school, nothing like that. Just was a stoner. And so we was hanging out at his house one night. All you know, me and all the white dudes and shit. Because there was some badass white dudes in my neighborhood. And most of them was like, well, the baddest motherfucking ones was always my best friend and shit. So, one night, we're getting drunk. It was listening to Fog Hat and shit on this radio station called WEBN. They had like a little, like, they would play like 4, 5, or 6, 7 straight Fog Hat songs and shit. So when Slow Ride came on, you know, we was all fucked up and shit. That was the best Fog Hat song. The motherfuckers decide that they're going to lynch me and shit. So I found this shit, I thought this shit was funny and shit. So they grabbed me, gonna take me out in the backyard and shit. They made a cross, put me up on the cross and shit. And then they gonna start taking matches and flicking them at me saying white cross. I ain't know what this shit, man. I was crying laughing at this shit. And so some of the badder ass white boys than them finally showed up. And I remember the one, Roger Green was like, who did it? And his brother was with him, Jerry Green. And it was like, Abel did it. And Roger went over to Abel and punched him dead in his motherfucking, he punched him straight in the motherfucking face. He said, untie him. He said, and if we ever see any shit like this again ever, somebody gonna get something broke. They just protected me and shit, you know what I'm saying? And I was best friends. I never was best friends with Jerry or Roger, but I was very best friends with her brother Jimmy Green. And Jimmy Green is just as badass as they are. And it's not badder and shit. And him and me was like this, like that and shit. And in my neighborhood, like I said, all the badass white boys were one of my best friends. Like I had this friend named Robbie Johnson and shit, who looked just like, pretty much just like Rob Lowe, but he was a badass Rob Lowe, and he was a Catholic school boy, but he just was a virulent person. And he just was a real similar to me. Like the main personality traits of him would be exactly what mine are: a highly volatile, humorous, fickle companion. You know, it'd be mainly, you know, main personality traits of him and shit. And he was like a Rob, but he was more handsome than Rob Lowe was too. And all the chicks at this Catholic school was like, Robbie Johnson. They see me just be mesmerized. Johnson. You know. And him and me used to go to parties and shit. And we would get into fights in the backyard. And always, I mean, 8, 9, 10 times this shit happened. We'd get in fights in the backyard. For some reason, we'd be drunk. We don't even know why we got in a fight. And then, you know, 5 minutes later, we'd be best friends and shit. And people would be like, how do these motherfuckers do that shit? We would be beating the shit out of each other. And then we'd be best friends. Well, anyway, Robbie Johnson was such a badass motherfucker. So one time, we was hanging out with my friend Miles Jones, Miles Jones is irrevocably, 100%, without any doubt, the greatest street fighter in Cincinnati at that time. That was my really good friend and shit. And like this. And he's older than us though. So Johnson was a year or 2 years younger than me, and then Miles was 2 years older than me, or 3 years older than me. So one night we was in Hyde Park. It was a real exclusive part of Cincinnati, and it was a party going on. And of course we wasn't allowed to come in the motherfucker and shit, because Miles and me was black, so they wouldn't let us in. So Robbie was so perturbed by this. We was on the street on Erie Avenue in front of the house where he had a long driveway and shit. You know, he had a party and a band, and you know, every girl named Katie and Susie and that motherfucker. You know, all cheerleaders, perky titties and shit. You know, they wouldn't let us in. They wouldn't let Miles in because we was black. So there was some football players from Robbie's school coming down the street, and so I was driving my mother's Renault Lion, and I was driving my mother's Renault Lion. Miles was sitting in the passenger seat, and Robbie was in the back seat. And so Robbie talked some shit to the football players. They was coming down the street, and they was like, "Fuck you, fucking Johnson, man. Fuck you, you're a pussy. We'll fucking kick your fucking ass. Blah blah blah." That was the wrong thing to say. Because Robbie Johnson opened the back door of the car, got out, and went over. And Robbie wasn't that big of a dude. He went over to the biggest football players that was in their little clique and shit, and he knocked that motherfucker out in about 15, 20 seconds. Flat out on the floor, on the ground, on his back, and said, "Now take that, bitches." And walked away, came back, got in the car. These are my friends. Also, I was the world's absolute greatest player ever in the history of Earth at Nerf football. I have over 1 million, or well over 1 million yards passing, well over 1 million yards received. There's just no way to describe how good I was at this fucking game. So, like for instance, you know, it would be like Saturday, Ohio State would be playing, you know, on the TV. So I watched the game. Then it was time to go out and assemble people to play with, you know, play Nerf football on the street and shit. And I'd go assemble a team around down the street. Come on, let's play. Come on, let's play. And then about half hour, might be 8, 9, 10 people in front of my house. I'd come out, we play and shit. I'm not sure if I ever lost a game quarterback, and I don't think I did. And I played hundreds of games. And then being a wide receiver, and then Rusty Coleman used to come play with us sometime. And Rusty Coleman was a star running back for Notre Dame. And later on in life, not then, but later on in life. But he was good in football when he was young. He was a star in Cincinnati and shit. He'd come play with us and shit. And you know, couldn't nobody cover him because he was too quick and too fast and shit. So he would, you know, always get separation and you know, his quarterback could throw the ball to him. You know, they could run a score up. So they would have to put me on him on defense and shit. I would shut him down. I would shut that motherfucker down. I would basically, almost every pass that was thrown to him, I either knock it down or intercept the ball and shit. So I was the greatest ever at that. I was also the world's absolute greatest player ever at wiffle ball. I'm the world's greatest player. You're looking at the world's greatest player at wiffle ball ever. I used to play with my friend Mark Dix. We used to play all the time in his backyard, and we was both Reds fans growing up. So we would put the Reds game on the radio, and then we would just play wiffle ball the whole time the Reds game was playing and shit. And it was a home run derby and shit. And we was playing in the backyard, and oh my God! I mean, you should see. Even to this day, you should see how I pitch wiffle ball. It's unbelievable. I mean, I can throw pitches that there's just, and they'll go over the plate. It's just basically impossible for you to hit them. And when, as a matter of fact, when I got older and I got married, my wife and me had a really nice house in Paddock Hills, Cincinnati, and we lived in that house from 1999 to 2006. And from 1999 to 2003 or 4, which I didn't play any after that, 2004, I was 39-1 amongst all my friends. The only person that beat me was my friend Harold Babb, who was this real handsome, tall, blonde dude, badass motherfucker. And he had played semi-pro baseball. And he was a chick magnet, all that shit. He had a really nice house. He was a smart dude. He made a lot of money. He was good at what he did professionally, blah, blah, blah. And, but he just wasn't no pussy. You know what I'm saying? But he wasn't no bully. But anyway, and he had an incredibly beautiful girlfriend that everybody wanted to fuck and shit. You know what I'm saying? You know, typical Aryan, you know, Cool. He's a cool motherfucker though. Really, really. We still cool and shit. Well, anyway, he is the only person to ever beat me in my backyard in my house. And all my friends are you know, a lot of my friends are really good athletes and shit, and playing baseball too. And I was 39-1 in 4 years. So every summer I play, you know, 4 or 5 or 10 games and 9 or 10 games in the backyard. And Harold Babb is the only person that beat me ever, and he beat me 9-6. So I consider that a pretty good record. 39-1. That makes me the all-time greatest. That's not the greatest. I was the absolute greatest player ever in NBA Live basketball on the PlayStation. I mean on the Super Nintendo. Then I was the all-time greatest player ever on PlayStation, and playing PlayStation 2. I was the absolute greatest ever. I mean, just no way to explain to you how good I make that shit. I was the greatest player at NBA Jam. As a matter of fact, I'm the reason why, and I was definitely the greatest player at Madden football. I'm the reason why Michael Jordan is the greatest player that ever happened in the planet. Why? Because I'm the person that played with Michael Jordan when he first came out back in the day. Before he was good, but he wasn't, you know, he wasn't winning championships. I'm the person that started playing with him to put the electronic into the ethers of the planet, and I used him because I liked him. And then I would dominate people with him, and then I would watch the games, and I would be like. And then that's when he started to win championships, when I was using him. So see, I invented Michael Jordan. And Michael Jordan, as a matter of fact, my cousin, Leslie Freeman, she married Richard Dent. And there's a causeway in the back of it. So Richard Dent was the greatest defensive tackle, defensive lineman up until that date. He was on the '85 Bears, the greatest team, considered the greatest team ever. He was the sack leader. Well, anyway, my cousin married him, and in the back of their house was a causeway, and that causeway went directly into Michael Jordan's back door. Good. So not only do I invent Michael Jordan, later on, my first cousin, my mother's brother's daughter, marries another greatest that's connected to him in the backyard. You know what I'm saying? See these correlations here? Tom Brady. I invented Tom Brady, not Tom Brady. How? Back all the way in 2000 when Tom Brady first came into the league and he wasn't shit. It's me. I used to play Madden. I'm so good at Madden until my friends they hated. I would talk so much shit because couldn't nobody beat me. Until my friends I was in this Madden league and shit, these Madden leagues, and my friends would be like, okay, we gotta, they'd form a conspiracy against me, so they would wait till I was at work, and then they would have the draft, so we would all meet together, and then you would draw straws for your pick, and blah 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 blah, but then if anybody was absent, they just assign them a team that was, left over. So that first year, when Brady first came in the league, they assigned me the Patriots with Tom Brady. I didn't even know who the fuck Tom Brady was. Right? They're like, yeah, we got him now. He ain't gonna be And so the Patriots had no team whatsoever. All they had was Tom Brady and two wide receivers. They had one wide receiver that was pretty good. I think that was like Deion Branch. And then they had this one wide receiver named Bethel Johnson, who was an Olympic sprinter, and he was a medalist, and he was really, really fast. And so, but he couldn't really catch the ball that well. He dropped half the passes. So what I would do is I figured it out. I would just run every single play out of the goal line. Out of the goal line goal line pass set, and then I would audible Bethel Johnson in the slot on a post pattern all the way down the field. So I had max protection on getting sacked. And I would pump fake again, then I would just throw the ball deep. Michael Johnson was so fast, he would have 10, 15 yards separation from the defender every time. And they invented a name, they call it the Fuh-Fuh. The Fuh-Fuh fired up. They're like, oh, he does this Fuh-Fuh. Oh, he does this Fuh-Fuh. Well, that's because you only gave me a team of one goddamn player. And sure enough, I was 11-0, 11 wins, no losses in the league that year, and they just disbanded the league because I talked so much shit until they want to commit suicide. See, I would literally say that too. Now, if I was like, you can use my insurance card because I know at this moment right now you need psychological treatment. You can use my insurance card, and you can pick any doctor, psychologist, you can pick any psychiatrist out in the city and go to it, and I'll pay for it. That's how much shit I talk, see. That's why they fucking hate it. See what I'm saying? To play me, okay? The next year, what they do? Same exact shit. They gave me the San Francisco 49ers. Ain't have nobody except Jeff Garcia and Terrell Owens. I was 10-0. And they just disbanded the league and quit playing. Then, you see what I'm saying? Then I made the greatest rap battle song ever in the history of the world called Peloponnesian Sperm Whale. It's unbelievable if you ever heard it. Everybody that's ever heard that song, I have like at least 8 or 9 friends that be like, that's my absolute favorite song ever in the history of my life. It's unbelievable. So, if you go in there and look at it, you'll see it has no dislikes and shit. And I put that song up over the years on YouTube 4 or 5 times. Every time it has 20, 30, 40 likes, no dislikes. Right now I think it's got 10 likes, no dislikes. You know what I'm saying? And then I was the absolute greatest loan officer ever in the history of Earth. I was the first person to figure out how to do Alt-A lending. And not only did I figure it out, I was an expert at it. I was so expert at Alt-A lending until I would go to work. I would wake up in my house. I would go to work and get there at 2 o'clock. I would finish at 4. And I was loan officer of the year. Because in Alt-A lending, when you tell the customer, I'm going to charge you $56,000 to do this loan, most people would be like, get the fuck out of my house. Who the fuck are you? Blah, 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 blah. When I tell them I'm going to charge you $56,000 to do this loan, and I completely justify why I'm going to do it, they not only would be like, okay, they would be like, when do we close? Who the fuck do you know can do that? You don't know anybody. Then, landscaping. I had my own landscaping company, and all my employees was the gold teeth thugs from my neighborhood. And first of all, everybody's scared of them. I ain't scared of them. They all got muscles and tear tattoos, and plaits and platinum and gold teeth and shit. And we out there landscaping, listening to BG and Young Turk and Lil Wayne and shit. And we used to get awards and shit. That's how good we was and shit. I mean, what I did was I went and got 6 golds with diamonds in them, and so I would wear mine too. Fuck it. You know what I'm saying? And they called me Sauce, Big Sauce. They were like, Sauce, Big Sauce. Or they would call me the ATG. Like, my friends to this day, when they see me, although I live in Houston, all my friends in Cincinnati, when they see me, if they see me to this day, they will be like, what's up, ATG? Or they'll be like, what's up, Big Sauce? Was the greatest that I was the greatest scholar that ever lived on the earth. I read over 4,000 books in my life. Now, I read the books that matter. My motto has always been, I'm the best at the best shit. So I do the hard shit first. That's why I was such a good loan officer, because I would do the hard shit first. the shit that most loan officers just put off to the end, like, oh, I gotta do that. Oh, goddamn shit. I just do that shit first, up front. You know what I'm saying? That's why I could go to work at 2 o'clock and leave at 4 and make 15, 20 grand a month. See? I was such a good loan officer, at one point, they had another facility, which was in Fort Mitchell, Kentucky. Mine was in Westchester, but it was in Fort Mitchell, Kentucky. And it could accommodate about 12 to 15 loan officers, plus the secretaries, plus the processors, blah, 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 blah. I was such a good loan officer. They put me down there by myself with this other dude. Now, come to find out later on, this other dude was a Illuminati assassin, and he worked for Brian Taylor, MI5, for 25 years as a salesman, which is an assassin. It's a person that's he gets an assignment to kill somebody, then the salesman is going to see him, and he kill him. Shit. And he was so in the Illuminati that he had Alexander Haig in his speed dial on his phone and shit. Matter of fact, General Haig called him a couple times before while him and me was driving around in his van doing shit, or in my BMW, or whatever. Well, anyway, they had sent him to kill me, and so him and me got to know each other. He buddy up to me, blah blah, confidence man, tall dude, kind of 6'2" or so, green eyes, red hair, but just a tough guy, smartest person I've ever had conversation with. I mean, just the funnest conversations I've ever had in my life with this dude. Just unbelievably smart, well-rounded, and knows shit that you ain't supposed to know. You know what I'm saying? And he would even be to me like, how do you know this shit? He's like, well, I already know how you know it, because that's why they sent me. He said, because you make them nervous. And I'm like, what do you mean? He's like, well, he's like the books that you order off the internet, your internet searches and the stuff that you study, they feel like you could hurt them. You see, it goes all the way back to what I told my mama when I was 2. See, when I was in 3rd grade. They feel like you could hurt them. And I was like, he's like, but I'm not going to do what I'm deciding to do. He said, I refuse to do it. He said, because you're way, way too good of a person. He said, so my recommendation is they just leave you the fuck alone. And so that's why I'm still sitting here today. See? And then he told me, he's like, and if you ever need to, if you ever need it, you just use what I'm about to tell you. Just you can just tell them just a few things, and you can claim MI5 status if you want to. I'm gonna make sure that you never get in trouble for if you want to claim MI5 status. And I'm like, okay. Now you see, you got MI6, which is James Bond, and that's legit. Then you got MI5, which is the Queen's personal MI6. Okay. Now, so when I did it, first time I ever did it, the Queen didn't get mad. She was like, do you need something? Because I've been loving on the Queen forever. See, and they know exactly. The British intelligence don't play around. They know exactly who the fuck or what's going on. And I've been loving on the Queen for years. See, she's so beautiful. Well, I mean, I say stuff about her that people are scared to say. Like, she's so beautiful. Oh my God, like her titties look good. I mean, shit that motherfuckers scared to say. I say that shit on the internet. You know what I'm saying? And you know how women are. I mean, you can't just objectify the fuck out of them, especially not no woman like that. But every now and then, she probably likes to hear that she's desirable, or that she was desirable when she was young, whatever. The Queen was fine as hell, So, first time she was just checked in, she was like, you need something? She wasn't like, what the fuck you doing? What the hell was going on? And shit, you know what I'm saying? She was just like, you need something? Because if you do, it's all good. I was like, damn. So see? So whenever you see me hashtagging MI5, I can get away with it. When you see me put up on my Facebook that I'm MI5, I can get away with it. You can't. See what I'm saying? they all know, like my club, the British Agent 00 Club, they all know. I mean, because the Queen is in it. She knows she's in it. Kate's in it. Kate knows she's in it. Megan's in it and knows she's in it. See? Because the Queen is 006. Kate's 008 and Megan's 009. See? I was 007, but I abdicated. And I just I abdicated and gave 007 away. And then I just changed to Emeritus, British Agent Emeritus. Heard it? And so, I read over 4,000 books in my life, see? And I know the words to over 1,000 love songs by heart. And I slept with over 400 women in my life, and I've never paid for the pussy. So all these sucker motherfuckers you see making rap videos and shit, making it rain for these hoes. I've never done that shit. Now I slept with strippers before, but I've never paid them. I paid them for lap dances, shit in the strip club while you're dancing or whatever, But I've never flat out paid a woman for sex, except one time in my whole life ever. I was in Walnut Hills at night, Cincinnati, and I was by the park, sitting on my side, or sitting in, not my side, I don't remember what car I was in, but anyway, and this girl was like, blah blah blah, how to suck your dick and shit, blah. And I looked at her, and I was like, that don't look like no crack fiend. That girl fine as hell. That girl was fine as hell. She was like 9.5 and shit. And I was like, what? She was like, I was like, so I looked at my pockets, see how much money I got and shit. And I was like, I got $8 and shit. She was like, okay. So that's the only time in my life I ever paid for sex. Ever. But I only did it because that girl was on the level of Elizabeth Berkley in Any Given Sunday. And remember she cost, I think she was $500, remember? But this girl was on that level, if not better. And I was like, fuck it. So I gave her $8. And, I can just keep going on and on and on. But anything I ever done, like I said, I'm all time great. The HEG. They call me Big South from the city of sin, because I'm like Randy Moss coming at you again. I'm the main boss, and I'm toting that being. TC and the cast iron tree I also go by. I don't know why, but my name is the HEG. And like I said before, they can't see me. That stands for the all-time greatest. Read your headline, because that's the latest. Something. So hope I know you folks used to love this series. I had made HEG like 8 or 9 videos or whatever. I know the shit was popular as hell. I know you guys loved it. I just condensed it all into this video. But there's more to it, more to be in the HEG. But like I'm in the top metadata people in the history of the planet because of all my activity throughout the years on the internet. I can tell you a whole bunch of other shit. But anyway, in a nutshell, that's the basic gist of it. All-time greatest at everything. Thank you very much.